All right, you're all gonna get a little notification. You have to agree that it's recorded or else you're gonna have to leave our meeting. Okay. Nice to see everybody. I couldn't make the last meeting because I was doing a town council thing at the same time. But can we get a motion to approve the minutes, please? Nancy, and a second of BJ. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't there.
I should too.
You too, Jack? Okay.
Yep.
All right. When I went back and listened to the meeting last time, and then I spoke with a few of you, last month, you remember we had Nancy Bemis and Beth Sanford here talking about the sculpture trail, and we're ultimately looking for us to support it again. And so we did fund it, by the way. I mean, that's up to Kevin. Has the fund that we tap into is not our account, right? It's the first selectman's budget that he can use for different things. It's $30,000. So whenever we decide to make a request or a recommendation for funds, that's exactly what we're doing. Is we're just asking to use funds, and 9 times out of 10 we get what we need. But so what I heard from speaking with many of you, and again listening to the tape, was there was strong sentiment that we support the sculpture trail again. So they went and presented it just to Kevin, and we did support it at the $2,500 level. So that is done. I just wanted to give you an update. And then I thought we'd do is just go right into some of the other business that we have. I know many of you have some updates on the projects that you've been working on. So do we want to start? BJ, do you want to start with the business development guide?
Yeah, I do. Laura and I worked a little bit talking through some of the elements this last month, and we have an intro and to write and the chart, thanks to Brock Sachs, helped us a little kind of figuring out what that chart is going to be like, so people can kind of use that as a guide point, just to where, what are the pathways to success.
Right.
The deliverables are a question. How do you see these? Do we see it as a physical brochure that somebody would pick up or download from the town website? I just need a little help trying to picture what my end product needs to be.
I mean, we can talk about it. I would just start with the fact that when the idea first came to me, it was something that was online in Yonkers or New Rochelle, wherever it was, and you printed it out. But
Okay.
Printed it out.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Well, I think both. I think it's got to be available right off the town website.
Yeah.
But it couldn't hurt to have a few copies at planning and zoning. And, if some of the real estate brokers or landlords wanted to have a few copies. So it couldn't hurt to have a few of those floating around. And then I think definitely it's got to be a PDF that people can pull off. BJ,
Right.
how many pages do we think it's ultimately going to be?
I think we're already up to about 12 pages, and then I have to do some design to do, but I think we're around 12.
Okay.
Because one of the spreads is that one with a graph where you can, pick all the different, I'm
Yep.
a beauty salon. Yeah. So
When it's on the online version, where there'll be live links in there, like if there's an application for something, is there
Yeah.
a way of a live link? So,
yeah, the
so
whole PDF would be able to have all the links. I guess my question is, did we see this as web pages? Or no, I see it as something I download and then I can, obviously stay on my computer and go to all the links, or I can, pick up the piece over at planning and zoning. So that was really in my mind, like, what's the easiest thing for them to do? 12 pages is not that bad to print out.
Right.
Yeah, and Bob, you were just saying today, you and I were talking about this, you said in Bridgeport, they had one like this, they had a guide, right?
Yeah, there
Like
used to
long time
be,
ago.
when I worked there, Bridgeport Economic Resource Center, which was called Burke. And you can imagine how difficult it was, how difficult it is here to work your way through all the permit processes and all the regulations. You can
Yeah.
imagine what it's like in the cities.
Right.
So there was a notebook that was available, and someone from the resource center would work with people, helping them wind their way through the community.
Yeah,
I told Tucker, I don't know if I'll get to it tonight, but maybe I'll go through my basement and see if I can, I think I have a copy somewhere. My
Yeah,
wife
they're- I
will be
mean, they're
thrilled, one more
available.
thing going.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
around, yeah, if you
Yeah.
had one, we'd certainly like to see.
But I think in today's environment, people like hard paper, they like a notebook, something.
yeah,
But because of technology, completing forms, if it can be in a spot, you need this, you need this.
Right,
And here's the process to go through for approvals. So I'll see if I can find it for you.
okay.
Is it-
I don't think that we were gonna put in the guide the forms. We were gonna put the links to where they could
Right.
find the forms.
Yeah, we didn't have the forms, it was a
Oh,
directional,
great.
it was a directional guide. But I'm thinking today, because of technology, it's nice if you've got a spot where you could click
Yeah.
on something and the form is there and it's probably fillable online.
Yeah,
Right.
because as I collected the information, was trying to picture myself going through it. And I literally had to go to like 10 web pages
right.
to do all the assembly. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, that would already make me zooey.
At the breakfast this morning, the chamber had their breakfast with the first selectman today, and there was a woman there who's just starting a business in town, and she came right over to me. She just signed the lease. She came right over to me. She's like, someone said I need to talk to you because I don't even know where now to start. I've signed the lease. I'm terrified, but I don't even know what's next. And I said, oh my gosh, you're a perfect case study for something that we've been working on for so many months.
I'm sure that was comforting. too.
I know, but I said, you're not alone. And the good news is we're in the process of finalizing
Thank you.
this. So does that answer your question?
Mhm. That helps me a lot. And I know that then at our next meeting, we can kind of look at the rough draft and make, we already have rough drafts, but I mean, look at it with the graph and the intro copy and just see if it feels right.
Yeah, so maybe
I'll get
between
it.
you and me and Laura, we can sit down and get that intro written.
Yeah, and through the, I'll get some quotes on some, for the printing, just, so the committee knows what we might do there.
Okay, I mean, I'm thinking, depending on the price, but I'm thinking I would probably say to planning and zoning or in the building department that they could share the cost of this,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
right?
I-
Okay.
that's a- I'm gonna get like 100, 250, just, we'll see what it is.
Right.
Good. Oh, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate that.
Tucker,
Yep, Jack?
can I just add something? This came to my mind. I think this is a great idea about this booklet. But would maybe a mentoring segment do well? Like that woman that approached you today. There's many, many people in town that have been through the process of events that she's going through. And maybe business people, retail would be willing to mentor a person and also help guide them, besides the pamphlet, but it could be also very helpful. I know I found my own mentors when I came to town, but maybe it'd be great if the chamber or some other organization offered that.
We could,
Yeah.
see if anybody wanted to volunteer.
When I
to-
talked to the town, having a couple of meetings just to kind of get a handle on the whole P and Z health, all the things, one of them said, it would be great to have a concierge,
Hmm.
where there's this one person, you go, that's the point. That's the person. They give you the guide and they say, what do you want? What are you? Oh, I'm an esthetician. Oh, okay. You need help. Start at the health department.
Mhm.
Like someone who just knows that, because that is the gift
Right.
to start in the right place. That's
oftentimes the real estate person functions that way. I know you do, Jack,
Right.
right? You work
Right,
with your
exactly.
tenants and take them through, but you know intimately what's involved.
Hmm.
So maybe we should get a couple of real estate people then to look at the guide and give us some feedback once it's in
Yeah.
its form, right?
Yeah. And also be thinking, BJ, because we're getting, I know a number of you are getting interns from the senior internship program coming in a couple of weeks. So if there's any work that needs to be done along the way that our intern, we've got a bunch in the building, if there's work that needs to be done that they can help with, let us know. I could certainly, I know you've got one coming too, but just if you need that kind of.
Right, exactly. And I think we're farther along and it's now down to just designing it, get that intro done and pretty up the chart.
I know
So that's
Lynn
where we are.
downstairs is really excited about it. I mean, she's thrilled to be able to have this to hand out to people, so. But I think
That's
that's a good idea too, is to get a couple of real estate folks to look at it too, and just make sure all the frequently asked questions are somewhere in there.
Great, okay.
Okay. Nancy, you want to talk to us about October for Design?
Well, my handout here is the culture guide, but October for Design has taken a little bit of a pivot because for a number of reasons, but we, the big thing I think we're gonna do this year is we're gonna have a free walking tour of downtown. That will be most of the, it'll be St. Aloysius, the Congregational Church, First Presbyterian, St. Mark's, God's Acre. Also, the section of Main Street between the fire department that was originally a Benedict Shoe Factory down to through the Raymond Building, the Opera House, sort of tell that story, turn up at St. A's and then go up Park Street so you can talk about John Brotherhood's impact on the development of Elm Street and Max Perkins House, and then head up. So we're gonna do that on the 16th. We have a design luncheon. We have well, we're gonna have a fundraiser that's more of an historical society event. The Glass House is working on programming. There's a collaboration between the Glass House and STAR on a high school art project that will be housed at the historical or displayed at the Historical Society. So I think that we have a lot of partners. It's gonna be a 10-day event, so it's much tighter than last year. We're guardedly optimistic. We're still looking at a tour that might be of the United Church of Christ in Rowayton. That was a Joe Salerno modern church.
Is that the one?
It's like a crazy,
Yes, it's around
it's
that.
beautiful, yeah. And the Fish Church in Stanford and Bethel in Stanford as well. But we're just not sure. The problem that we had last year with the Modern House Day Tour is the transportation was really difficult. The buses were very big, they were too big. The person that we used for years that had smaller, they're not toaster buses, but like 25 to 30 passenger. He's had a hard time coming back after COVID. So we're just not sure we want to do a tour.
Right.
And, people don't like being on those big buses as much. You can't navigate the streets as well. It's just more complicated. So we're not sure, but we're still hoping that Silvermine and the Carriage Barn and the Gallery Stroll, all that stuff will happen just in a much tighter timetable. And our lunch this year is going to be Jackie Shapiro, who's a local designer, Frenchville, but her daughter, Dolly. Yeah, so it's going to be sort of intergenerational design, and they're going to do it together. So
great.
We're very excited. Obviously, we're wanting everybody to get involved and partner. And Gina will be updating the website. Our intern will be updating the website, and we hope especially that TDAC takes a look at the website and sort of knows what's going on, so that if people ask, this is still something that, we really need help and funding for PR. We just don't at the Historical Society have the bandwidth to do it. And it's very expensive, as those of you know. So that's kind of our big thing, is like we put all this effort into generating these interesting experiences and programs, and word doesn't get out. So
And you've looked at sponsors and things like that, right?
we've looked at sponsors. We're looking for sponsors. There was some question about whether we would try and get some kind of flags on the street. That's complicated because the Young Women's League does their scarecrows at the same time as our thing, so it's not sure what we can do about that, but if anybody has any ideas, if they want to help, I would really appreciate the input.
Hey,
Maybe-
Nancy, if you run through town this week, you can see Caffeine and Carburetors is using the flags.
Yep,
Because what I was explaining to Dina before is that you could have the scarecrows and flags at the same time. Because the flags come off the lampposts.
We're looking more for banners, not flags. I thought that was what you were hoping to do, like.
Well,
the ones-
well, I saw those flags, they looked like the start of races,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
We
right.
could easily turn those flags into the logo or the something. The
Exactly.
problem that I have, just being sort of financial sensitive, is that if you put the dates, they're gonna change every
Exactly.
year. So, you know, I don't know that we are enough of a brand yet, October for Design, that if you just had October for Design flags, it would be enough. You know, maybe we could do a combination of October for Design and then maybe 6 or 8 that would have the dates that we would have to discard or hold for whatever, how many years it would be to cycle through.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I mean, it would be definitely good to have something downtown. And also what I'm hoping, and I have to reach out to all the organizations that may participate, is that if there can be some mutual promotion, you
That's
know,
what I was just
that's really what we need, is that, you know, if the Glass House wants to do something, the Historical Society and Silver Mine and the Carriage Barn and maybe Grace Farms, and, you know, everybody promotes each other's stuff.
even all those churches that you talked about,
Yeah,
when we're gonna be
yeah,
on the tour,
yeah.
right? No, that's exactly what I was gonna say, and also that, Live New Canaan, I mean, you know, their bandwidth right now is quite large, so let's get them to reserve sort of that week. So our friends at Noble House, actually, or, I mean, not that week, even, you know, well before to promote it all,
Yeah, last year they promoted it, but they promoted it like the day before,
right?
and it
So
needs to be, you know, a month out.
that's what we need to coordinate
Yeah.
that with them.
Were you looking for financial resources from TDAC?
Well, I was going to, but I don't have a specific ask. I mean, we
Yeah.
definitely need PR. I need to look into what an ask might be.
Okay.
You should ask us. I mean, I feel like this is sort of our baby, it's your
Yeah.
baby, but I feel like it's something, I mean, we still have $18,000. Again, it's not our money, but there's still $18,000 in the fund and
Okay,
through.
well, let me do
And then
some,
if we start
let me
again,
do some
June 30th,
research.
July 1. so.
Yeah, let me do some research and maybe I can come back in May and ask for something when we,
I mean, even, you know, this that we did last year, I mean, you know.
well, we're definitely doing that again,
No, I
yeah,
know, I'm just saying things like that, if we can fund, if there's a piece of something that we can fund,
okay.
that helps, you know,
Yeah.
because this is too good.
What are
to-
the dates? What are the dates?
The
that you-
13th to the 23rd.
Okay,
And Laura's helping me organize or notify the gallery people. We're hoping to have Thursday, the 13th be a kickoff with the gallery stroll. Then our lunch is the Friday. And then most of the other programming will happen during the following week.
and
Great.
I know that Caffeine and Carburetors has been speaking with Glass House and Carriage Barn for an event during that time period also. So we'll make sure to get you a brief of what that looks like.
Yeah, and I think Caffeine and Carburetors was hoping to do that following Sunday, like it's the 20th, I think the last day, the 23rd.
Yeah, I'll get you the
That way
date so
they
you
have-
know.
Just looking at that.
Yeah, and the sculpture trail is doing some kind of progressive dinner in its sculpture garden also on the same, Sunday as part of October for Design.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
cool.
is, Caffeine and Carburetors is the 23rd, so,
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
but it's gonna be like a photo exhibition and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be going on the week before the 23rd. So it'll be all within your October for Design time.
Yeah, but that's perfect. I mean, that's exactly what we want.
Great, great. So
And
that'll,
Karen, maybe, you know, all of you up at Grace Farms, I mean, you're integral to this too. Maybe there's some, I'm sure you're already partnering with them to some
Yeah.
extent, but the marketing is where you can use a lot.
And-
of assistance.
And Nancy, I'll reach out to you separately just about, what your needs are in PR and how I can, help at least figure out what would be most effective for you for promoting.
That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you.
Nancy? Nancy, Jack Trefero. Someone sent me a Wilton Library bulletin, and they actually have a fundraiser event of a special tour that people could bid on and get a special guided tour of the history of Wilton in a Packard. And you might just read it, or I'll send it over to you. It could be,
Okay.
you said you're going to have a fundraiser. It could be something that you could also do in New Canaan.
Yeah, the walking tour that we're gonna do is gonna be free. You know, we're hoping to have like 6 groups of 20 over the course of the day. I've talked to the police department. They're really supportive of trying to help us navigate without having to pay for duty officers, especially because the route is such that there's a lot of sidewalks and things like that. There's only one kind of a little bit bad crossing. And our hope is that if there's interest, that it's something the Historical Society could offer once a month.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
because we're not going into any of the spaces, we're just
Right.
walking by. So it would be great to be able to have that for tourists that come through, or for new families, or for whatever, like learn about your town kind of thing. I mean, it's a pretty small, I walked it, it doesn't take me more than about 20 minutes to walk the whole loop. The tour will probably be about an hour and a half, because they won't be walking.
How many people on each tour do you think?
What we were thinking is between 15 and 20.
Mhm.
And we have 3 people, we have 3 New Canaan Historical Society employees that would be the tour guides. And so we were thinking like 3 from 11, or from 10 to 11:30, and then 3 more from 1 to 2:30, if there's interest.
Sorry, Sue Schweitzer, you keep unmuting and I.
Done.
Yeah,
Because,
they can turn the TV on again when they come back.
You can, I'm done.
so if you keep unmuting.
She did.
yourself, No, I did.
Muted.
I did for her.
Oh, okay.
I keep doing it for her. She keeps unmuting, so anyway.
Anyway, so that's, the idea is that we could take up to 120 people. If there's an overwhelming, I mean, this is free, so if there's an
Yeah.
overwhelming response, we're gonna train more docents and add a 3rd set, you know,
Sign me up.
okay?
Not as a docent. that's all.
Oh, okay.
I don't know any.
As a walker, yeah.
Yeah. We could all take the walk, you know.
Yeah,
We could be
yeah.
your test case.
Well, also, it's been interesting is working with Mike Dinan, if any of you read his Then and Now column.
Right.
You know, a lot of that has been that we've been researching each of the buildings on Main Street.
Mhm.
And I said to Mike, like, this is really interesting history.
Mm.
Why wouldn't, if we're walking down the street anyway,
Talk
why
about
wouldn't this be incorporated
Right.
into the tour? So,
Right.
um,
I mean, for people, I mean, I've lived in town now for 35 years. I probably don't know a piece of
Yeah.
this whole history project that you're working on, so.
yeah. And I was researching the Ardsley Inn. It's now the St. Aloysius parking lot, but it was the Ardsley Inn from 1906 to about 1934. And the number of interesting people that stayed there and liked it so much that they lived there for $10 a month, like for years and years and years. I mean, it's fascinating history.
Yeah. Great. Anybody got any more questions for Nancy other than she's working it? We're good? All right, yeah, but if Alan can help you, Karen, all of us.
Yeah, Alan, I'd be really appreciative.
Sure, I'll send you a note after this.
Okay.
All right, so we're moving right on to the,
So this is the culture guide that TDAC has already funded, and Tucker and Laura and I have worked on sort of the template. We identified the cultural institutions in town. There are 12 of them that would be, and it's not the nonprofits, it's the nonprofit cultural institutions. And so this is Gina's, we haven't picked a final cover yet. I kind of like this one that has Alan Goldberg. You can't see it. I thought everyone was gonna be here, but no. This is the, can you see if I, no, you can't see it at all. Okay, but so
I'll
anyway,
hold it up to the screen.
um,
I'll be Vanna White.
okay, so basically,
Val. Let's see if this works. I don't know.
it says culture in New Canaan. And basically, well, these are just, you can hold this one, because this one's, these are not provided by the institution, these are her mock-ups. The idea is that everybody gets a 2-page spread like this. So it's
Oh, wow.
a 6x9, it's a 6x9 inch guide. And we have a list of what each organization has to provide. So it's going to be the look that they want in terms of their images, their text, their little like highlight reel, everything that they want. but it is gonna have sort of a uniform design, so it won't. I guess it's the kind of thing like all of us have to sacrifice a little brand to have a lot
Yes.
of a good brochure. So,
And not have it look like ads in magazines.
yeah,
Right.
so I actually really like the 2-page spread, especially for places like Glass House and Grace Farms where you're gonna want a big horizontal across that and it looks better on a big page. And so anyway, we're gonna send this out. You've approved it, right? I know
I
Laura.
approved the template.
The template thing, yeah, okay, so we're gonna, I'll send that out tomorrow then to the directors of the 12 organizations. We were hoping to have everything by June 1. I think if we shoot for June 1 and we end up with June 15th or June 30th, you know, she can design it and we can get it printed for the fall. It would certainly be ready for the October for design. I would like it to be earlier because I know the Glass House has got a really busy summer. Like, why wouldn't we have copies available then? Gina has found a great print on demand company. And so we can order what we want to order, and then if they go quickly,
Yeah,
we can get more, yeah. We can also have a digital version, but I think the goal of this was to have an actual physical version.
Right. Questions? For Nancy on this? This will be great. Remember, this is something that, gosh, we go back several months on this, but we've talked about this, not just about this specific project, but along the way with TDAC about how we need some tangibles. I know everything feels like it's online these days and lying sure things are, but with some of the photographs and some of the images that you have, it's too good to not put it in print and have it available for people to pick up at some of these locations, so.
Well, and also I think that if everybody provides their own, you're gonna get the best quality.
Yeah,
You know, Gina just pulled a pretty landscape for the nature center, but I'm sure they have great stuff. You have wonderful pictures of your property. Grace Farms, I know, has great pictures. The Carriage Barn has incredible art.
that's the best
You
of
know,
the
yeah.
best. Yeah.
So
Thank
there
you for
will be an online version of this?
Well, that's what we were just talking about. I mean, I think the first priority is to get the brochure, and then where the online version could live. I mean, maybe it could live on all of our websites. Maybe it lives on the town website. I mean, she's gonna have done all these files. It can certainly be an online version, but I think that the idea is more that somebody goes into a Realtor or somebody goes into the Glass House or someone comes into the Historical Society, they get this and they're thinking, oh, well, in addition to what I'm doing right here in front of me, there's all this other stuff to do. And that's, you know, that's part of it.
But if there was an online version, you'd certainly be able to judge its success by the number of hits. I mean, it would probably be listed in all the town websites.
I'm sorry, I was interrupted. Say that again, Jack?
No, if there is an online version of this, the number of hits, you'd be able to see successful that distribution was also compared to the print. I'm kind of of the
Yeah, I
camp.
always question hits because somebody can look at something and do nothing about it. So,
Yeah.
you know, I always wonder if some of us could start collecting, like, how did you hear about us? And if it's from the Culture in New Canaan guide, you know, that could tell us, like, maybe that's an additional thing you could add to your, you know, your visitor registration that we could put in our logbook, whatever. Maybe that's the best way, because I don't know, I'm always suspicious of hits because I look at a ton of stuff and I don't do anything with that information.
Right.
Well, I'm
Well, I
of the
like-
camp that people are on the web constantly, so I think it could be less expensive and have a wider reach.
So we'll do both.
Yeah, I think we're always.
So,
Yeah,
planning
I
to
think
do
they were
both,
always
yeah.
planning to do both, yep. All right. Laura, Jack had asked for some updates on vacancies and the window project. Do you want to take us? through
Yeah,
this?
absolutely. So we, reached out to different brokers and landlords and really never got anywhere. Anyone that was willing to share the costs with us to put all those beautiful pictures in the window. The good news is the problem is slowly going away of the vacancies. Elm Street, there are 3 businesses that are expanding on Elm Street. Dunkin' Donuts is going to expand, Manfredi is expanding, and Togs is going to fill up one of those empty storefronts on South Avenue. Soleil is expanding, moving into a space next door. They're in the process of that. There is a wholesaler of fine linens who is on a second story on Elm Street that is now taking some retail space. So Elm Street is completely full. We obviously still have those two huge stores on Main Street. You know, he refuses to work with us. That building is actually for sale. And then on Main Street, we just have, you know, including those, there's the Subway, I think, is being filled up. I don't know about Terry's space. Jack, you may know more about that. Her Garlic, you know, the Garlic and Herb space. So, and then there's one space on Forest Street. So unfortunately, anyone we've reached out to either just ignores us or says no, thank you. But the good news is that we really are, even on Berta Street, we've got some interest. I think there's someone who's going to grab the old Green and Tonic space. So the good news is that the spaces are filling up, and you know there's a lot of places that look empty. But I was doing an inquiry for a business just yesterday and called a couple places, and you know they said no, there's a deal on that spot. So that's the good news. But yeah, that's where we're going. I don't have my actual numbers yet. I got to adjust my chart, but because I just learned a lot of this yesterday.
Questions?
What do you hear about New Balance shop?
I had heard that they're working on a deal for New Balance, but it's owned. It's a complicated ownership situation because the original owners went bankrupt and now it's owned by some real estate holding out of Florida.
Okay.
And it sounds like there was a service business interested, but they had to work through all the P&Z where you service in the back, but retail in the front. So I don't know where that is. I heard that a couple weeks ago. So that's in play, but I don't think there's a solid deal on that yet.
There's a grand opening tomorrow night, right? Where's that? Tomorrow night, grand opening?
Oh, well, that's a second story business. It's it's a medical aesthetic kind of dermatology place. That is where the old what was that pottery place that was upstairs?
Art and Soul.
Art and Soul, thank you. And they've done a beautiful job up there. And I just heard that the second story space, the old Karen Forbes space, is pretty close to a deal. They've got a verbal deal, and that's going to be another medical service business.
Wow.
So that'll be great too.
Where's Dunkin' expanding to?
I believe the old CBD store on South Avenue. And I was asking about the Heather Gaudio's got a little auxiliary gallery right next to it. And what I'm told is Dunkin' Donuts is taking the CBD store and that gallery space. So it's going to be big. Jack?
Yeah, I just feel that we haven't solved this problem. Empty stores going forward will always be there. And again, other areas, other towns have systems to get this job done. I will send you, I did some more research before this meeting because I saw it was on the agenda, which by the way was brought up again at the Advertiser Coffee by a citizen. And anyways, I will send it to you, the ordinances for Palm Beach, which is a town very much like this. And they have solved this problem.
You mean, are you talking about the appearance of the empty store windows?
Yes, they have the store. They've done exactly what we have done. They've created templates that they put in the window. I did think what was interesting as I read through the ordinance that they don't allow the same graphic within 200 feet. So actually you walk through the town and the graphics are in themselves interesting and narrate a story. I couldn't quite figure out why it was so interesting, but that explained it. And it's all there in their ordinance and,
Well, if you want to go in front of the ordinance committee and ask them to, I mean, we don't have any teeth. Like, we're asking people and we're, offering to split the cost. But if the town wants to look at putting an ordinance in and that the landlords will have to do it, we don't have any teeth here, unfortunately.
what they do in Palm Beach is they give them what they can put in, which is quite a list. And they give them a suggestion of where to have it done. And that's it. They have to go and do it. Also, there's a fine.
BJ,
So send it to you.
what do you think, BJ, the cost would be? I mean, I know the heavy vinyl, they're really nice, the ones like that we do have in the New Balance window. I'm wondering if, and I remember we talked about this early on, and I was thinking of it as like a roll of wrapping paper, if you will, right? Just so, is there a big significant difference in the cost? I mean, I would think there would be, right? Custom vinyl versus just a roll of stock photos, not with the broker's numbers on it or any of that, that we could invest in. And then when somebody, when a store does go out, ordinance or no ordinance, but some sort of a rule or a policy, and they need 9 feet, we can just sort of cut them 9 feet and, tell them to go put it in their window. I don't know if that's even doable.
I think the biggest issue is the material needs to last for a while. And so there's an issue with it fading quickly and the paper being damaged while, installing, while manipulating it. So in all the cases when we were trying to describe what we wanted to do, the sheer weight of the material of such a large piece of paper makes it a bit ungangly, kind of big. So that's why we went with the vinyl. We can definitely get a quote for almost like a blueprint material, like a thinner weight.
Yeah.
But we would run into that issue of it not holding up.
Well, the other thing
so
vinyl banners is you could use them again and again. Somebody gets rented and then they could.
Yeah, except that we've customized it. They have different brokers' numbers right on them now. So any that we do in the future, I don't think we should customize. If they want to then have a for sale, or their.
at that time.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I do think if we do any of the more, we shouldn't customize them so they can get reused.
But
Yeah,
if
I
you
just-
do have that idea
it-
of wallpaper, it would just have to be, whatever that 8 feet by whatever you want that dimension. So you have that wallpaper somewhere that you could slice and give them their section. It just gets expensive at that size. That's the size thing that gets us.
Right.
So I'm glad to go to more of a paper solution. And you could see what you guys think of the cost of that.
Jack, do you have any sense in the research that you've done? Because I've seen the same thing that you've seen down in Palm Beach, those black and whites, but did you ever get any pricing from anybody? Do you know how much it costs these landlords to put those in? Do you have any, obviously the size
What
matters.
was interesting about the ordinance is you weren't worried about that. They just put that right on the landlord. He would get his best price and just get it done as the cost of doing business. I just feel that by allowing this to continue, it takes away from the whole town, from everybody. So I just think that they should be doing this for the benefit of the town. We have gone over this for, I think, about a year. And it is
And
solvable.
we made some progress. I mean, listen, I just want to go on record and say, we made some progress. I mean, we came up with designs.
Yes, we
and
did.
A lot of work went into this, right? And we put them up.
Yeah.
We can't make these landlords do it. And as Laura pointed out, the good news is the problem is slowly but surely, going away, but there'll be more, we'll have others.
But through
Yeah.
ordinance, you can do it. I mean, obviously, this path has not succeeded.
All right, well, then what I'd like you to do is sort of run with that in the ordinance. I mean, if you've got a copy of the ordinance, if you could, get that to Steve Carl at the town council level, and then they can start discussing it and seeing.
Well,
how-
that's what I've been doing actually since I got this, is I've been, I feel I've worked through the elected officials. I mean, that's the way it should be done. I
Well,
feel.
but it's not all elected officials. The town council is the one that handles ordinances, the ordinance committee of the town
Right.
council. So make sure
Okay.
you're reaching the right folks.
I'll go, okay. And I have sent out to some members of that already. Okay.
Great. If you wouldn't mind, would you send us all a copy of the ordinance?
Absolutely. That's what I said I was going to do. I'm going to
Okay,
make sure the committee, who I know I'm on, BJ,
great.
Laura, I don't know who it is. We should all be able to see that.
Okay, thank you.
I think
Mm-hmm.
Dan Mulhern, right?
Okay. All right, that takes us through the work stream updates. The next item on the agenda was Playhouse status, and I always promised you guys I was gonna try to keep these meetings brief, but get as much done as we can get done. I think you've all been reading that we're very, 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 very close to signing with an operator to run the theater. The trick is, the challenge has been, is that it's there's a lot of components to it because the town owns the building. There's a lot of work that has to happen to the building before you even start, getting anybody in there to run the entertainment piece of it. But the good news is we're, as I said, we're within 2 weeks, hopefully, of getting this all finalized. We thought we were there the other night. We had a joint meeting of the Board of Finance and the Town Council. We went into executive session, obviously, to discuss real estate negotiations, and we got almost there, but there were still some unanswered questions that we're working on finalizing. So I guess I'll leave you with this, though, and I do see that Grace is on the call, and that some of the feedback I've gotten outside of that meeting is some people have said, well, has the public weighed in on if we want a movie theater or not? And again, I know the article, one of the articles that came out, there was reference to that, and there's been some comments that have come in, but I would just ask you all, if you feel strongly, or if you're speaking with people that you think that the theater should remain a theater, I would encourage you to send emails to the Town Council distribution and the Board of Finance distribution, because they're the ones that are gonna take this up. The building, many of you know, the building was built in 1923, so we're at 100 years next year, which is rather significant. And it was built as a theater, and then this is all part of, paying homage to the fact that this building was built to do this. And I think personally, I think it's something that would be so great to have on Elm Street if it's this thriving, wonderful, creative, community-minded theater. And that's the group that we're speaking with, is all of that and then some. And they've done this at other locations, and I called all of their other partners, and I got, mayors of other towns, and I got such a thumbs up, exceptional. They've delivered on everything they promised. They're part of our community. They're part of the fabric of our community. They're sponsoring T-ball teams, all of that kind of thing. They've developed strong relationships with the businesses. They're bringing in restaurant food from the other restaurants in town. So I just think what I'm hearing outside of that meeting the other night was that the town officials are looking for public input. So I would ask you all to encourage anybody to do that. If you yourself want to do that, I mean, I have to believe, unless there's somebody tonight on the call that believes otherwise, that TDAC feels strongly that the theater should remain a theater. I mean, unless there's anybody that objects to that. And I guess one of the things that I say, there's a couple of folks that I've had conversations with who say, really, the theater business? And that's a valid question. However, I say to them, well, what if it wasn't a theater? Can you imagine what it would be, right? Would it be more residential? Could it be affordable housing? Could it be more retail? I mean, it would just dilute what we already have. We're trying to find something that complements what we have downtown and not competes with it. So I personally, just as a taxpayer and in my role here, I feel very strongly that it should be a theater, and maybe because I'm a little jaded in working with these potential partners, but I just see the opportunity is there. So Jack.
Yeah, and I just think that, we're on a commission of tourism and economic development. And the movie theater, I think, fits that so well. When the theater was running, it helped to fill the restaurants. It helped to bring people into town, people that don't live in town, to view the shop windows, to maybe come back and shop. I mean, it just seems so logical to have a theater. I do have one question about the plan. Tucker, you may know this or not. As maybe like other entrepreneurs, I did try to use that theater when Bowtie had it. And there was no way for an outside person to utilize any theater time. For example, at one time we were trying to show, have kids' movies on a Saturday morning, which could help develop traffic in town. They would not give us any space for that. Then there was, the idea of having just a small film festival. There was no time for that. And then Pedro Guerrero did a film, or there was a film by Pedro that the New Canaan Historical Society premiered. But we tried to premiere it at the New Canaan Movie House. And again, they gave us no time. So my point is, in this agreement, it could benefit tourism and economic development if there was a slice that could be given to entrepreneurs to maybe, or organizations to utilize that theater.
So the answer to your question is most definitely yes. They, we've talked at length with them about this and about the need and the real, that it's critical that we have the option of having some local events, local programming. Something might be great here and might not be something that works in one of their other locations. They are very open to that. They would like to have, it could be that they show a film and then have the producer live on a small platform type of a stage, speak about the film before or after the film. They're talking about having something that could go sort of on the first 3 rows of the seats. So you could even have a, 2 or 3 people panel discussion. You could even have a guitar and a couple of musicians. So sky's the limit. There is absolutely no objection to any of that from the conversations that we've had thus far.
Yeah, just speaking to your original question, I mean, that makes that theater even a more powerful economic engine than it was before. That's great. And
that's why they're so hot on it, because they recognize that theater is so integral to the community and to the downtown. And part of their business model is to find towns like ours that have these beautiful theaters that just need to be brought back to life. So
This operator is comfortable that they will still be able to draw first run.
yes, so they're deeply connected in the film world. And that's why the benefit of having 2 theaters, right? You can have a first run, film going on. And the other thing that we were speaking, and Nancy was part of this, we were speaking with some other operators along the way too. And, other towns have a problem, like in Stamford, there are rules that you can't play another film within a certain amount of miles. Well, we don't have any of those restrictions here. And we obviously would draw from, where you live, I mean, all around here. So, so yes, first run, they were able to get Spider-Man in one of their other locations when nobody else could. So
that was an issue with an earlier discussion.
Yeah. And I think Bowtie, I mean, I don't know if you read, but Bowtie is split off now and they sold half of their properties and to AMC and the other half are just commercial product. They're going into the real estate piece of it. They're sort of doing away with the theater piece, but they weren't running it like what we're talking about here. So stay tuned on that. Again, we're hoping this all goes well to get a deal signed, very shortly. So if it's all right with all of you in my conversations, I will relay that TDAC is 100% behind this and supports this, and we'll get going. Last order of business, something I always like to do, maybe we'll start with everyone here. Give us some updates. What's happening?
So the Glass House began its tour season last Friday. We were holding our breath about what demand is going to be, how willing people are to travel. Certainly international travel is not what it once was. We were essentially sold out. When the Glass House first opened, the tickets for the entire season sold out in 3 days. That's not the case anymore. And we only put tickets on sale through June 30th so that we could reevaluate. We're operating 4 days a week, whereas the permit would allow us to operate 5, but we just didn't know if the demand would be there and the cost to be open another day, but have sporadic attendance didn't make sense. So we'll reevaluate, but right now things are looking very good. June 11th, the second Saturday of June, as is our pattern, will be our annual fundraiser in person. It's been, well, we missed 2 years of our annual fundraiser. That was punishing economically, but also there's a lot of people that are interested in the event. It's kind of a social milestone, I guess.
Who's doing your food?
Don't know yet. I
Okay,
mean, coming soon.
okay, all right. coming
We have a
soon.
couple of possibilities.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So a few details are yet to be worked out, and tickets are not officially on sale yet,
Right.
but we will be making an announcement within the next week.
And you're able to do I mean, they're guided tours now?
We're doing guided tours. The buildings are open. The one thing that we're not doing that we did before COVID is having our educators on the bus from the downtown
Oh,
to the site. But they will greet the guests just like a guided tour. We're also doing self-guided tours because there's a lot of demand for that. Families tend to like that kind of a format where they don't necessarily have to worry about children
Right.
being disrupted to
Right.
other people in their pod that are not related. And they can spend time on the site where they would like to do so. So a combination of all different kinds of tours, ranging from just going to the Glass House one building, which is typically, maybe a lot of group tours and people who are less mobile than others
Mhm.
prefer that alternative. But also multi-building tours that last 2 hours, or we'll configure a tour based on the group's interest, for a premium
Sure,
price.
sure.
So right now, things are looking very good.
Oh, I
The
love. to
one
hear that.
interesting thing I think is everybody getting used to being back in a not work from home kind of an environment.
Yeah,
It takes its toll.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it's working out right now.
Good. Aside from everything you've told us about, Nancy, what else have you got going on over there?
We have an art exhibit opening on next Thursday at the Glorious Pavilion of Mark Markiewicz's drawings from around the world. There's about 40 of his drawings from Poland and Iraq and New Canaan and Princeton. So that will be nice to be able to use as you all probably know, the town did a restoration of the pavilion. We painted and cleaned up the inside, so this will be the first exhibit there in a couple of years. So that's great. That's the 5th. June 3rd is our Step Into Summer party. Like you, it's been a long time coming. We have our same band that we love, Doghouse, is coming back, and we have a tequila tasting. And probably our biggest thing is that we've been working for a long time now on this clothing and textile exhibit called I Do, the History of Wedding Fashion and Tradition. And we have wedding dresses from 1820 to 1990, mostly worn by New Canaan women. So we have their stories and changes. It was funded in part by Connecticut Humanities. So there's also an aspect of it that has to do with changing traditions around weddings.
Tell me about, yeah. tell me
Charlotte
about-
Engel, John Engel's daughter, has been working with us since last September. She's a clothing historian, and she started a TikTok of the work that she's been doing, not only with the permanent collection, but particularly this show. Her TikToks now, one of them got 1 million views. People have gone nuts. So we
You
have,
hear that, everybody? 1 million views.
so we have people coming in literally all over the country for this show. So we're excited about that. And then also for the first time in 3 years, we will have the ice cream social. And this
What's the
year,
date on that?
the 5th of June, from 1 to 3. Gopher has partly donated the ice cream, and are based on a grant from the newcomers and our board decision, this year it will be free. So we're expecting a big crowd. So that'll be fun. We'll have some nice vintage cars. Scott Reddy's bringing his fire truck. We're hoping it's a nice day, but we have a big tent, so there's plenty of room for people.
How are the
to have
ticket
cake and ice cream.
sales going for Step Out, Step In?
Good. We're almost sold out for the private tables, and, we have capacity for sure on tickets, but we're really hoping that people come. It should be fun. Starts at 6:30 and it's dinner. Diane Brown's doing the catering, and
Great. Got my ticket. I'll be there. All right, anybody else? Karen, what's going on at Grace Farms?
Yeah, there's 3 fun events coming up. One is Friday with the founders of Dudley Stevens, the company. Maybe some of you have their things. They're born and raised in Darien, and it's part of our Sustainable Fashion series. So they're coming at 10 o'clock on Friday. There's still tickets. On May 10th, we're inviting David Barber, who founded Stone Barn, Blue Hill Stone Barn, for a conversation about food, the future of food and sustainable food. And then on May 20th, we're having Andy Armstrong and the New Canaan Chamber Music at Grace. We're so, I mean, it's amazing to be able to partner with him and with all the incredible board members of New Canaan Chamber. So it's a fun.
Oh, that venue is going to be amazing with that concert.
I just think it's going to be incredible. And he's got some great musicians and a fun program lined up. So it'll be an hour concert on the evening of the 20th, following a community dinner, if that's interesting for folks.
Great. All right, who else got anything to report? Laura, you got anything more from the chamber? You've got all your events happening?
No, sidewalk sale is going to be the 23rd or Friday, the 22nd on the sidewalk and Saturday, the 23rd on the streets. So my vendor
Wow.
applications go live, and we're hoping to get a lot of vendors. I'm hoping we can fill up Main Street as well. We haven't been able to for the past 2 years. So we're really going to try to reach out and find some new vendors to fill up that space, because it's difficult to do with Wave moving, Karen Forbes gone. Carl Chevrolet's not coming back this year just based on their inventory and everything else. So, but we're hoping for a full fair. So we're really excited.
Okay. What about
Uh,
Alan? How are you?
All good, all good. I'm in New Canaan quite often, even though I'm not living there. I'm there about once or twice a month. Be up there next week for about 10 days.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, who else? Jack?
Tucker? Yeah, I don't have my picture on, I have on my phone here. I have, a report from the market demand study, that group. I don't know if this is the appropriate place to put it, but we have done
Yep.
some work.
Please do.
Okay, so let me just go back here. So one thing that we would suggest is surveying the community and businesses to understand how they feel about downtown, understand unmet needs, and get their suggestions. To support and encourage the development of a more vibrant and relevant business community that is in tune with the needs of our citizens as well as visitors to the town. And I know a lot of these things we are doing, but this is suggestions that we're making. To reduce the number of empty storefronts and the lag time between rentals, identify new businesses and landlords that are consistent with our town's image and strengths and have the best chance of succeeding. Areas we identify as opportunities, procure new tools to measure success and entice new businesses that Pacer AI. Better understand the needs of our citizens, business landlords through surveys, meeting, conversation, survey nearby and online communities that are determined to be best in class in order to identify opportunities and potential businesses. That's one thing I find as I travel around and visit other towns. There's lots of things to discover that would benefit New Canaan. Develop New Canaan brand that is consistent with our history, values, strengths, and relevant opportunities to inform PR, website promotion, etc. Create better awareness of what business currently exists in town, where they are, and encourage patronage. Identify ways to make patronage easier, zoning, parking, attracting businesses that will serve an underserved portions of our population, youth and older adults. Next steps, New Canaan SWOT analysis, develop surveys for townspeople, visitors, business owners, and landlords, explore best in class areas in person and online, and identify opportunities. Identify vendors for upgrading town website to provide better awareness, promotion, potential brand development. Review parking signage to see if there are opportunities to increase awareness of where to park and hours, instructions. I know we've done some work on that. Submit requests to ARPA funds to help pay for some of the above. Ideally, hire someone to do some of this work. And I know that Susan Schweitzer sent me a note. I don't know if she's still on the call, but she had many recommendations for doing a proper survey. Susan, are you there?
She's not here, no.
No. Okay. What I'll do is
Who worked with you on this, Jack? Was it you and Susan?
Susan and also, oh gosh, who was on our committee?
Rita.
What's that?
Rita?
Rita. And Rita did
Okay,
this.
she's not on, okay, so she's acting liaison. There's a lot there, Jack. I mean, that's
We had a-
like 10
we had a lot-
years.
But we kind of distilled it. So, yeah, we talked about it a lot.
Yeah. All right, well,
You Tucker, and if you wish, send it to the members. That would maybe be a good idea. But I think the most important thing is to survey the town to find out what they're thinking right now.
anybody have any thoughts on that, on a survey?
I think a lot of this we have done. We did one recently, did we not? Maybe right before the pandemic?
So
You
2
mean
years.
New people in town. It was an intern.
oh,
Yeah, it was
we did.
Luke Martokyo.
It was Luke,
yeah.
Martokyo, and Betsy.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be good to kind of see, Jack, what you've put together and kind of say, okay, great. We've done that one.
Mhm.
You know, that way, you know, we're kind of moving through that.
Yeah, and
The
Susan
list
has
is so
very
long.
about how to gather this information. So I'll send that to you also.
Nice.
Well, I mean, there's a lot there, and there's certainly a lot that we could do. One of the things that we've said all along, sort of in the last year, is we're just trying to manage our expectations of what we can actually do based on who we all are and what we all have going on in the regular part of our lives. But yeah, if you want to, sort of write that all up, you rattled off a lot. I
Well,
started to write it
so-
down and I lost it.
But one suggestion, Tucker, was to hire somebody. We have some funds, and this could be an important area. We have to decide. So what I'm concerned about going forward is that I don't know what the future is going to bring, but with rising interest rates, we may be slipping into or maybe being pushed into another recession. And I don't know whether we've recovered from the last one. So I just,
When you say, wait, I gotta take it back a minute. When you say to hire someone, then we have the funds. As I explained to you earlier, we don't have a dollar. The money, the funds are through the selectman's office, and we make recommendations, and we
Right,
only have.
right.
Right.
right,
but-
so we would make a recommendation to
But how
maybe
much,
do it.
I don't even know how you'd hire someone for less than $10,000 to do some
Okay.
of the work that you spoke about.
Right? But if we identify this as important, that may be worth it.
Well, maybe we look at the list and see
Okay.
what.
Yeah, if you could put it all together, sort of in some sort of
Sure.
format that we could all look at and decide. I think BJ's approach is a good one. We could look at some of that. I think some of it we've done, some of it would rise to the top of the list. Some of it might be something that we would just have to take on down the road. I certainly think
Mhm.
parking, that we can parse that out to the parking department, and I know they've done.
But
work on it. Well,
But I do think surveying the population and the business people and landlords in town to get their current thoughts about things would be important.
okay, well, we'll get everybody's thoughts on that. So if you get us something we can respond to, and if Susan's got some ideas on what that wording would look like and how you would do it, I mean, we would need a whole sort of presentation on how that would happen. I'm open to surveys. I don't want to, I want to make sure if we ever did do a survey, it's done correctly and properly, and we get the right information.
Sure.
Didn't the town do like a very easy survey? Like,
Yeah.
it was like a.
It was Blue Buffalo. Blue, what was the name of the company that did it? They did it about 3 years ago, and I found the results in my desk the other day, actually.
But it was very.
Wasn't there another one we did? I thought it was just via the newspaper or something. It's one of those kind of online survey things. It wouldn't be the official one, but maybe just to get a top line temperature of people before we invest in the the bigger one.
It
I don't
was
know.
a newcomers survey, I believe.
That's it.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was why people were coming to town, and it was
Yeah,
schools
schools,
and
downtown.
properties and downtown restaurants. and,
Right.
I remember because nobody was interested in culture.
Oh, you were.
Not true.
All right, well, send us what you got, Jack.
I will.
Okay,
Happy.
all right. Anybody else? Anybody else got anything going on they want to report back? If not, we're pretty good. This was
I got a question.
a question.
What's the process now for remaining process for ARPA?
Oh,
As Jack mentioned.
yes, so as you all know, the ARPA funds, and I could go get that out of my desk. We were granted $6 million. We do not have to spend it all in one fell swoop. We're not spending it all in one fell swoop, and we don't have to even commit until all of it until December 2024. So it has to be committed, then it doesn't even have to be extended by then.
Right.
So as of now, the town has approved, I want to say, we're at $4 million worth of projects. The last two were presented the other night. There was a telemedicine initiative put on by Waverly Care, and the other one was this behavioral health urgent assessment program, which you all haven't heard about. I learned about this just in working here, and this is basically for a family or a friend or a colleague or whatever who's in crisis. What we're hearing now is oftentimes they'll end up after maybe a car accident or some sort of event in an emergency room where you can sit for hours and hours and hours. Then you're handed a piece of paper with a bunch of lists of names of providers, and you're told to go home and start dialing for dollars. And then when you finally find one that can deal with whatever situation you're in, they'll say, I'll see you in 4 weeks. So this assessment service that we're going to offer will be, you'll get seen within 24 to 48 hours, and then they will actually follow you through getting the care that you need. So that was just the two that we recently funded. So the nonprofit piece of it, which I know you guys are part of,
Yeah.
is being vetted by the Community Foundation. They have 3 teams. One is culture, tourism, arts, culture, economic development. Another is behavioral health. And then the other is sort of sustainable type of efforts. And of those 3 teams, 2 have already met with initial, the tourism one just met today, and we have some follow-up questions for some of our people like you guys. So that's still rolling out. Our goal on the nonprofits is to have some final decisions by mid to end May. So that's where we're headed.
Are they gonna follow the usual community foundation format though, where like a team comes and interviews you? No, okay.
Just with follow-ups, everybody did a nice job of submitting their applications with the information that we needed. There were a total of about $900,000 worth of requests that came through. But many of them applied elsewhere as well. So that's the nice thing about working with the Community Foundation is we've been able to see who's gotten funds from other sources. So it looks really positive. I mean, there's a lot of great projects. Some of them are brand new initiatives. Some are looking to make up for lost revenue, can't have galas, that kind of thing. So everybody made a great pitch, and so we're just trying to sift through it and see where the priorities are. But so back to answer your question on this piece, on the nonprofit piece of our funds, the expectation is, by middle to end of May, we will have sorted that out. That will still leave, another $1 million or so that we can fund, that the town can fund.
Right.
Maybe you've been reading about other towns. Some towns Greenwich just announced where they're spending, I think they got like $30 million or whatever, and they're doing a lot of infrastructure projects, a lot of just repayment of lost revenue to the town, their parking funds, things like that. Darienne's putting a lion's share of theirs into fixing their flooding problem in their downtown, really getting that settled. A lot of towns are using it for broadband. They're just finding it completely unacceptable that during COVID, kids weren't able to connect and that kind of thing. So every town's got different needs and wants, but I think our process has been a very thoughtful one. And so we're just walking through it as we speak.
Great.
Anybody else?
No.
All right, so in terms of follow-ups, Jack, you're gonna send us some information. Nancy's gonna get her program done. Do you all, I mean, I'm seeing that the lion's share of you all were on Zoom tonight. We don't have to meet in person. I mean, the benefit of seeing some materials that people share, but do we want to just always have hybrid, or do people prefer just to go all Zoom? I mean, what are your thoughts? I don't care really either way. I think it's more effective to be in person, but I also know this is where we're at these days. So what does anybody think about that? I mean, certainly Jack in Italy and Alan in Maryland.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping to come to some in person. I mean, I like the hybrid, I like the opportunity, but obviously other people should say what they feel.
No, we'll always have hybrid, by the way. The governor has
Okay.
extended that sort of indefinitely. There will always be a hybrid option. So, and there are situations that come up that someone just has to be hybrid, but,
I think we should just be on Zoom, because like this, I could have shared my screen.
right.
You know, I thought we were supposed to be here, so.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna be too. So let's do this. Let's have our next meeting, which is May 19th. Let's do someone via Zoom. So if anybody does have anything that they want to share, have it ready to be able to share your screen. And we'll try that and then see where we go. And the summer months are kind of nice to be able to be at home and. I'm looking at you. All right, so then May 19 is our next meeting and it's all Zoom, so I won't reserve the room and hopefully we'll get some information between you all, between now and then, and I'll share it with everybody, or you can share it with the group, okay?
Okay.
Jack, what time is it for you now? It's like 2:15
It's
in the morning.
2:13 in the morning.
Go to bed, go to bed.
Go to bed.
But I have to tell you, my workday here starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, that's when I
Okay.
start to work. So
Got
I
it.
have a very good phone program with Verizon and I'm on Zoom all the time.
Good. All right, everybody, thank you very much.
See you
then.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good meeting. Bye-bye.